You're welcome to Fanog YouTube channel. Uh, Today we'll be looking at some problems in Math 102. Those problems have to do with finding the domain of real valued functions. And we have three of them, so we'll be looking at the domain of this real valued function. So we look at the solutions. Number one, you have that function f, which is defined as the square root of x plus 2. So the question is, what are the values of r, that is x in r, that will make this function to be meaningful? That's actually what we call the domain of f. The domain of f will actually be a subset of r, and of course the range will also be in r. So we are interested in computing the domain of f, and those are real numbers such that this function become meaningful. We know this is the square root of a real number, and for the square root of this square root of these numbers here, x plus 2, to be meaningful in r, it must be positive. It must be positive. If you look for find square root of negative numbers, they don't make meaning. They are not meaningful in R. But rather, such numbers are what we call the extended real number system, or the complex numbers. So they're a complex number, and we are not interested in that. So the values of x or the values of r that will make meaning is such that x plus 2 will be positive. And anybody can solve this. Of course, x is greater than, if you take plus 2 to the other side, you have minus 2. So in r, minus 2 here, minus 3, minus 4. Then to the left, you continue. And then to the right of minus 2, you have minus 1. You have a 0. You have 1, and so on and so forth. This is the real number system. So you discover that the values of r that will make meaning must be greater than minus 2. So these are the numbers to the right of minus 2, excluding minus 2. In other words, you discover that all the numbers from negative infinity up until minus 2 will not make meaning. In other words, you have the entire real number system minus from negative infinity up until minus 2, including, will be the domain. So the domain of f, the domain of this function will be from minus 2 excluding up until infinity. So that's the domain of f. Now, for the second function g, g of x is equal to 1 all over x squared minus x. Of course, you can write this number as follows. This 1 all over x into x minus 1. Okay? So now the domain of g are the values of r that will make these numbers to be meaningful. So you'll be talking of the entire real number system minus, at the point 0, when x is 0, this function will not be meaningful. And also when x is 1, if x is 1, you have 1 minus 1, that's 0, making the whole of this not to be meaningful. So you are going to avoid numbers 0 as well as number 1. So in other words, the domain of g, function g, will be equal to from negative infinity up until 0, you will avoid that, and then between 0 and 1, you avoid that, and then you have that the domain of g will be from minus infinity, comma 0, then union 0, comma 1, right? And then union 1 comma infinity. So you avoid number 0 and 1. So that's the domain of G, minus infinity comma 0, union 0 comma 1, and then union 1 comma infinity. Lastly, the last number, the last problem is a function that is described as h of x is equal to 4x. Now you discover that this type of function will make meaning for all values of x in R. So you discover that for every x in R, you have that this function is does make sense. H of x is defined. So that you now discover that the domain of H is the entire real number system, okay? Which is equal to minus infinity, comma infinity. So that's the domain of H. Thank you for watching. To get notified whenever new video is uploaded, please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get notified whenever new video is uploaded. To subscribe to our YouTube channel, just click on the subscribe button and then you get subscribed. Thank you.